If you thought your portfolio had a rough week, take a deep breath, because whatever losses you hold, they pale in comparison to one of Wall Street's biggest funds. Leopold Aschenbrenner, the 25-year-old OpenAI researcher, who became famous for his AI manifesto, just experienced a textbook Wall Street blow-up. His hedge fund Situational Awareness just experienced a massive drawdown, from about 45 billion to only 10. This is a brutal drawdown of about 77% in a matter of weeks. And the story about who broke him and who picked up the pieces is one of the most ruthless trades I have seen. To understand how a 45 billion fund goes up in smoke so fast, you have to look at how the fund was set up. He wasn't just long AI, he was running massive leverage. His fund went all in on the AI infrastructure supply chain. He was heavily long hardware names and power names such as Nebius, CoreWeave, Micron, SanDisk and so on, while at the same time shorting software stocks like Adobe. For the first half of the year it obviously worked magic and it generated an astonishing amount of return, around 400%, through June that is. But of course leverage is a double-edged sword, and when tech started pulling back, those leverage bets turned against him fast. Nebius dropped nearly 50% from its highs. SanDisk collapsed over 50% and prime brokers, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan and so on, demanded cash for margin calls. So Leopold was effectively trapped. Now here is where the plot thickens and where Citadel Securities enters the room. Just as Leopold's fund was on the edge, Citadel publicly stated that the Federal Reserve was going to hit the market with a surprise interest rate hike. And that single headline spooked the market. It was the exact final push needed to force prime brokers to pull the trigger on Leopold's margin calls. And what happened next? Citadel Securities swooped right in. In a massive single trade, negotiated behind closed doors of course, Ken Griffin's Citadel Securities bought out Leopold's entire public stock portfolio at a lovely discount, as you can guess. So they created the volatility, intensified the margin call, and then bought out the distressed assets at a discount. While this is a personal catastrophe for Leopold, for the broader market, it is actually very bullish. Because when a giant leveraged fund gets margin called, it creates artificial mechanical selling pressure. And Leopold wasn't obviously selling Nebius or Micron because the fundamentals changed. He was selling because his brokers gave no other options. And now that his public book has been cleared out and therefore handed over to Citadel, that relentless selling pressure literally evaporated overnight. And that is exactly why we saw stocks like CoreWeave and Nebius jump over 20% in a single day, right after the deal was announced. In financial history, major fund liquidations, as we have seen, often localize market bottoms, and we have a few recent examples in 2021 with Archegos, and FTX in late 22. Both of them were localized bottoms. The takeaway here is clear. Firstly, no matter how smart you are, leverage will eventually get you. Secondly, when giant institutions collide, it often creates generational buying opportunities. But only for those that can see through the crap. Citadel obviously didn't buy those stocks from Leopold because they are generous. Quite frankly, it seems that they even assisted in the margin call by sharing the news hike news. The big boys have placed their bets. Now it's time to see what happens next.